What's going on, YouTube? So in this video I just want to show you guys a couple of the foods that I use to feed the fish in the reef. Also a little blend here that I make at least once or twice a week to feed the reef, and which I also use to stuff the silver sides to feed the eel. The first thing we use here is these frozen rotifers. Excellent food source for your LPS and SPS. It's full loaded of zooplankton, phytoplankton, amino acids, and protein. On top of that, I go ahead and feed the Reef Frenzy, which is also a good food source for your coral and fish, and some mysis shrimp. Go ahead and throw that in a little cup and let it thaw down. On top of that, I'll go ahead and crush a couple of these light spectra pellets into a powdery form, which is what you see here. And the powder that you see here is a couple of scoops of this ocean blend, which is pretty much zooplankton and protein. On days that I don't feed the rotifers, I'll go ahead and replace it with some of this. And I just wanted to show you guys this little device here. It's out of a 2-liter soda bottle. Just cut it down, put some holes on it, and I use it to, when I want to directly feed my scoles or my Westophilia. It's really hard to do when the crabs and the shrimp and the fish go and steal the food, and the coral doesn't get a chance to eat the food. So I'll just go ahead and put this, for example, over the scole, bury it in the sand so it doesn't move, and with a turkey baster I'll go ahead and feed it directly, and that way it gives the coral a chance to feed. So I did go ahead and also take a couple of video and shots of the feeding response and polyp extension on the coral. And I hope you guys enjoy that video, and as always, thank you guys for watching.